Thank you, Jerry, for this lovely evening. Thank you to Madeline, thank you to Wolf, and thank you to Richard very, very much. In fact, tonight, perhaps all my career, I wish I had been called Cynthia Levinson. I was once told that I would not make it in television precisely because of my name. And the truth is that I have spent the last 25 years at CNN calling and saying, hi, my name's Christiane Amanpour. That's A, M for mother, A, N for Nancy, P for Peter, O-U-R. Christiane. That's Christian with an E. You mean K-R-I? So, you know. And then the other thing is also they told me I wouldn't make it in television because of my looks. You know, I didn't have the right look. And it's always so wonderful when I meet people. They always say, oh my goodness, you look so much prettier in real life. So I'm so, you know, deeply apologetic and I'm deeply regretful for testing your aesthetic patience all these years. But I really have had the most phenomenal time. I've had a great, phenomenal career, which has been a great adventure. I love this profession. I think it's noble and I think it's heroic. And imagine what it must have been like for all of us, certainly my CNN brethren and sisterhoods sitting here, to have worked for the great media revolutionary Ted Turner, the visionary of our time. And then for me in 1996, I was able to be a contributor to 60 Minutes and work for the other great visionary, Don Hewitt. It was like dying and going to journalism heaven. I would like just now to mention and to point out the other godfather of journalism who's standing right here, Ben Bradley, who I'm very honored to have as my guest. I've just been reading about the last 150 years. Somebody called it the heroic age of journalism, way back in the Crimean War when fantastic dispatches for the Times of London from the horrors of that battlefield helped to bring down a government but also to modernize an army. To the campaigners such as Émile Zola in France, who used his journalism of outrage to condemn and protest the wrong charges that were born against Dreyfus in that Dreyfus affair. And closer to home, the muckrakers, Ida Tarbell, one of the great women, Studs Terkel, who just died, the moral clarity and the consistency of Edward R. Murrow, who is our hero, Morley Safer and those Zippo lighters in Vietnam, Seymour Hersh and My Lai, and the investigative power of Woodward and Bernstein. Their legacy is profound and should always make us proud. As I've just mentioned, their boss was Ben Bradley. And when it came to our generation, we tried to live up to our forefathers and our foresisters in Bosnia, which was our Vietnam. It was journalists, for instance, who uncovered the horrors of the concentration camps there, and I believe who collectively, in the end, helped force an end to that war. For me, Bosnia is where I found my voice, and where I discovered that our words and our actions have consequences, and where I determined to use this platform, this amazingly powerful platform, in the pursuit of the truth, no matter how difficult and how dangerous that would be. We do, in this profession, certainly foreign correspondents, not just Americans who go abroad for their own newspapers, but foreign journalists who live in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Mexico, Russia, all those places. Deliberate targeting is their main form of death. In other words, journalists are killed deliberately because they want to silence the messenger. But also it's difficult and dangerous to speak the truth when it's not popular, when people confuse truth with patriotism, when they confuse dissent with disloyalty. And so I've, with all my colleagues, have tried to overcome that hurdle as well. In general, we pride ourselves in journalism in seeing wrong and trying to right it, and in seeing injustice and trying to change it. I was interviewing Bernard Kouchner the other day, the French foreign minister, and I was kind of joking around with him about actually something in France, and I sort of made a joke about how I was demonstrating and protesting against something. And he sort of laughed and he said, ah, toujours activiste. And I said, well, what does that mean, activiste? And I thought to myself, no, it's true. I do feel a bit like an activist. I do feel, not that I did that with an agenda or any political issue in mind, but just telling the story, just doing my duty, just doing my job and being there with my colleagues to relentlessly report in all the places we go. The French writer Albert Camus once wrote, "Perhaps we cannot prevent this world from being a world in which children are tortured, but we can reduce the number of tortured children." And I think that's the point, after all. We can't change the world, but maybe we can help a little bit. Maybe we can think that we've done something worthwhile in our career. And as I say, I've had the immense privilege to be led by example. Ted Turner, who risked his life first skippering the Courageous to America's Cup victory, who risked the shirt on his back and everything he owned to create CNN and this media revolution, after which nothing has been the same, who risked everything to be on the cutting edge of the environment and conservation movement, then to try to stop nuclear proliferation and secure loose nukes, and who of course was the first of our modern billionaire philanthropists. So I was just down in Atlanta with my colleague here, Parisa, and it was his 70th birthday, and he said that the three things that motivated him in his life and his career were courage, integrity, and friendship and loyalty. And I feel that that has been a great lesson for me, as I've been a young journalist at CNN growing up now 25 years. And I really feel that thanks to CNN and thanks to the power of journalism, we have been at the very least witnesses to history, and at the very best able to perhaps change things for the better. And you know, I don't think it's our job to set the agenda, to be political, to be ideological. The great friend Fred Friendly once said that our job is not to make up people's minds, but it is to make the agony of decision-making so intense that the only way to escape is by thinking. And I think that that is what we should do. With a quote from Robert F. Kennedy, who I think was a great man. Back in 1966 in South Africa, he said, "Few will have the greatness to bend history, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation. Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or a woman, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." And I think today's incredible power of the media and of the press can be those tiny little ripples that can make a contribution to our history. So thank you very much indeed for this amazing award. I'm very, very proud to be here, not just with all the people Sylvia mentioned and all the wonderful people who have been so kind to me tonight, but also with Helen Thomas, who was the first woman to win this, and I'm so happy she's here, and I'm greatly honored to be in her presence too.